was just sitting here thinking about drastic changes. Sometimes we need to make drastic changes in our lives to make a difference. For instance, I did 45 days, without sugar just to see, what it would do for me. So, in those 45 days, I actually lost like 10 pounds. And silly me, on the 46th day, I decided that I was going to have some ice cream. My body did not like it one bit. And I'm going to tell you about why, in a few minutes, because drastic changes, can have some lasting effects on your system. Anyway, I'm Erica Lamar, the digital creator and host for Embracing the Fight, and I thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to watch Embracing the Fight. It's all about normalizing the conversations surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. Because I've had people coming on here since January of 2023 talking about their respective fights. But I start the conversation off telling you all about my journey through thyroid cancer. And if you happen to watch last week. I think I was telling you all about me having a fine needle aspiration biopsy of the lymph nodes of the neck, and everything has come back good. Everything is benign. However, I was told that these are the surface lymph nodes. So now what they have to do is a full body PET scan, really, of the liver, the abdomen, the lungs, the bones. They really want to see what's going on because my tumor markers are actually rising. She said that previously they were around 1 and now they're at like 10. So we got to find out, what's going on there. But not only is it important that you all are listening right now, but it's important that you continue to listen and share. And I would really love it if you would come on Embracing the Fight and share your testimony and share your story. Because each story or each testimony that's shared has the ability to save at least one life. And imagine the impact that could have on the world. All right. You can reach me at operations@diversitydesign.com by email. You can reach out to me on every social media platform at Embracing the Fight. The only one that's, slightly different is Instagram, where it's Embracing the Fight underscore because somebody beat me to that name. But everywhere else, it's Embracing the Fight. And I would love to hear your story. I would love to talk to you because once you let me know that you want to be on the show, I will just send you a Calendly link and we'll set up a time for us to talk. All right. So now that I've gotten the business of everything out of the way, let's talk about these drastic changes. So, what a lot of people don't understand is when you do something drastic with your body and then you try to revert back to the old way of doing things or the old way of eating, your body will let you know, hey, this is not it. Don't do that. This is bad. So let me give you an example. And I know this is going to be, probably TMI. But after those 45 days, I decided I wanted to have some ice cream. So I went to Sonic and I got a large Sonic Blast Heath bar. Yeah, it was delicious. It was delicious. But, I actually noticed that it tastes much sweeter than normal. But since I hadn't had anything sweet, I said, that's, my taste buds are letting me know that what I've been eating is way too sweet. Whatever, I ate it anyway. And then I proceeded, to eat dinner. And then after about an hour and a half, I think the next 4 or 5 hours were spent in the bathroom. Yeah, because my body was expelling everything that was in my stomach because of this wonderful ice cream sugar combo that I placed in it after going 45 days with no sugar. So some of the positive things that I noticed about, 45 days no sugar, my skin actually had started to clear up really well. And then you see I got a little eruption going on there. And that's because I decided on the 46th day, like I said, to have some more ice cream and ice cream that was packed, with chocolate and toffee and all the goodness of Heath Bar. And that was not a good idea because my body's letting me know this is not something that you should desire to have. And in general, I know that sugar is one of the things that feeds cancer. Because think about it, when they're doing a PET scan or they're doing, whatever scan that they're doing of your body, when they inject, the dye or whatever in you, it's got sugar in it. And basically those scans are reading, where the sugar is attracted to. So that says to me that cancer likes sugar. So why would I be feeding it with sugar? Because I don't make the best decisions all the time, apparently. But beyond that, let's talk about some other things that we need to make drastic changes with. So when you think about, processed food, a lot of people don't realize that processed food can even be just frozen fruit, even though they don't add, any sugar to it. When the act of freezing is a process, a lot of people don't understand that there are levels, when it comes to processing food, where some like cured meats where they add salt and they add other things to help, preserve the meat. Or there's vegetables that are canned that have salt solutions and other things that are placed in there to preserve, the vegetables. And then you have meat that, like, say, a steak is basically just meat that's been cut. It's processed because it's been, cut, sliced, whatever you want to call it, it's been processed. But then you've got ground meat and you have like the sausage meat. And that meat is much more processed than, say, a steak. So there's levels to processed foods. And the ones that are most harmful are the ones that have been processed and preserved with, you know, salt, sugar, other additives and preservatives and fillers, things of that nature. And a lot of people want to say, oh, when I go out to eat, I choose foods that aren't processed. You realize that some of the salads at restaurants have salt, in them because they are preserving these vegetables or the fruit or whatever that's on the actual salad. Because imagine, if they didn't cut up fresh salad every few hours, they'd be giving out some brown salad every now and again. There's something that they're putting on it to preserve it, which makes it a processed food. Now, it might be a healthier choice as far as you thinking about, the vegetables and everything, but whatever they preserved it with, it might not be as healthy as a salad that you say you make at home. Like if you went out and you bought a head of lettuce and you bought tomatoes and onions and you boiled your egg and you chopped all this stuff up yourself, then you have processed it. So you know what you added to it, if you've added anything at all, and you know that it's not, being preserved by anything because you're probably going to eat it right away. So when you go out to restaurants, you still have to think about how this stuff has been preserved before you eat it. Because think about it, when you go into a restaurant, everything isn't made, fresh at that point. A lot of it is already cooked and it's just reheated because sometimes you'll get service so fast. It's like, how in the world did this happen? I wanted a say if I wanted a steak that was medium well, and it comes out in less than, 5 or 6 minutes. It's like, well, what did you do? Put it in the microwave first? Like, how did you do this? So you can't say that they were already cooking them because you realize how much food restaurants will throw away because they're guessing on what, people will consume at a particular time. Now, sure, they have, these histograms probably that tell them, at this time of day, most people are eating chicken or they're eating, fish or whatever. And at night, they want a steak or, whatever. They probably have trends that they can look at and tell kind of, what the crowd is eating. But they don't sit there and make a certain amount of them each night, hoping that people come in and eat it. They make it when it's ordered. So there has to be some prep, prior to, or they're cooking it really fast. Something is going on back there. Whatever's going on, just know that this food has been pre-processed, pre-packaged, and it is cooked and served to you hot so that it is quick and convenient. So just be mindful of what it is that you're eating when you're at, these restaurants. Also, people like to say, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a smoothie because smoothies are so healthy. Yes, they are. They are if you make them at home, if you take the raw fruits or raw vegetables and whatever, medium you're using to make them smooth. Like some people will use bananas, some people will use yogurt, some people even use like a collagen or like a gelatin that they mix in with it, whatever. When they're making it at Smoothie King and it tastes delicious, or these other, tropical smoothie places, it is delicious. But then you have to look at how much sugar they've actually put in there, or how much sodium is in there, or whatever, peptides. What did they put in there to make it's so smooth and so nice? Because that isn't natural. That isn't something that they do or get right every time. Because think about it. Have you ever gotten fruit from the store and it didn't taste good at all? They don't have that option for things to not taste good. So, like for instance, imagine if all the pineapples they got weren't sweet and they started making pineapple smoothies, people wouldn't come back because they don't taste like what they think they should taste like. So there are additives that are put in whatever it is that they're mixing. Sure, they'll be like, oh, these are real fruit smoothies. They probably are, but they're frozen fruit that has been processed in some way so that it is good and sweet when you drink it. So be mindful of what's in the smoothies that you're actually drinking when you're out and about. Now, of course, like I said, you can go to the store and get all your fruits and vegetables, but then at the same time, the stuff that's in the store, how was it treated? Why does it stay green and so beautiful all the time? Think about it. When you go in and you see what, like 20, 30 bags of grapes, you know that maybe today all those bags of grapes didn't sell. So what do they do with them? Do they put them back out the next day? Do they put them in the refrigerator? What do they do? How do they make sure that the produce looks and stays fresh? You think about what they're spraying on it, because you sometimes you see the water, come on in the produce section and it's misting over it. That may not just be water. That may be water and some other mixture that is keeping the fruit and keeping the vegetables, keeping everything over there looking and appearing fresh. So the only thing I can say is, have you considered starting your own garden? Have you considered, and I know the first thing you'll say is, I don't have enough land to start a garden. Man, people are starting gardens in 5-gallon buckets. All they had is seeds, some type of fertilizer and soil and a dream, basically. And they're doing amazing things with this because those people are basically growing what they need to be healthy. They've given up the idea of trusting, someone to deliver fresh produce, not knowing what it is that's happened to this produce before it reached the supermarket. Sure, you can go to the farmer's market and you can talk to the farmers. You can actually visit a farm and, ask questions and see what they do because a lot of farmers, the ones that are organic, they say they don't use pesticides, but what do they use? They use manure. I know there's a farm in Atlanta. The I think it's Upenda or Upenda Farms, Upenda Estates Farm. And she has mushrooms, she has alpacas that make, really good fertilizer. She calls them magic beans, and she calls herself a doo-doo diva. But anyway, she has fresh eggs. She has lots of things, bees out there where she has, she's making honey and all that. And she's basically showing, us how to be farmers, how to be self-sufficient with that. Now, I grew up with parents that, had corn and beans and peas and collard greens and watermelon, all kind of stuff that they were growing out there. And I'll just admit it, I wasn't that kid. It was like, oh, go and help dig in the garden. I didn't want to do that because I was terrified of like snakes and stuff like that. And I didn't want to be sticking my hand in the ground and up pops one because I probably would have died on sight, but whatever. Anyway, I know and understand, how to cultivate the soil if push ever came to shove. If I needed to actually start farming, I could do it. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you, y'all. It's some hard work. That farming is not for the weak. Now, there are different, types of farms. I mean, when you're actually having to cultivate and till the ground, and if you were deciding to do this by hand, sure, you have farmers that have greenhouses that don't have to do all of that because everything is raised and above ground, in those greenhouses. And a lot of people also have like natural farms where they're like the lady I'm talking about in Atlanta, how she gets these chanterelle mushrooms. She doesn't plant them, she doesn't do anything with the ground. She just, finds them where they are as they occur in nature. So that type of farming, would probably be cool for me. But as far as, all that tilling and, you know, goodness gracious, it's some hard work. It is hard work. But you know what? My parents have been doing it for years, and we have been enjoying fresh vegetables for a very, very long time. And I can attest, to them having, really good health at, the ages that they are. Even though, we all have, our issues, theirs just don't appear as much, as others. And I'm grateful to God, for that. But in the same breath, I should be doing the same thing. I should be eating this stuff because this is what I grew up on. And what's funny to me is my mom, she said one time, when I started gaining weight, she was like, "Oh, you didn't gain that kind of weight when you lived around here, when you were eating my cooking, you were eating my food." And then I started thinking about it. I was like, "You're right," because once I got out on my own, I started eating more processed foods. And I don't mean like I was out, eating fast food and stuff like that. No, I was going to like these expensive restaurants, trying all this different stuff, traveling the world, trying all these different things and not even thinking about it, because I just like the way the food tastes. Not that I was sitting there saying, "Ooh, I'm just gonna gain weight." I thought I looked good, but I just kept doing it. I didn't slow down. So now I know that, I have to do better. I have to eat more like they eat, and I have to prepare my food more like how they prepare their food. And I have to read labels, and I have to, consume more water and walk more and all of that. That's really what drastic changes are all about. One day you'll wake up and you'll say, "You know what, I want to grow some onions, or I want to grow some tomatoes, or ooh, I want to do, sweet potato, pineapple, whatever." Once you start growing those things, honestly, it can be, addictive. Because I honestly hate it trying to cut the grass. And now that I do it, every week, it's actually, a really good form of exercise. And it also, gives me pride of how nice, my yard looks and how it looks around my house. And at first I was just like, I don't want to do this. But now, it makes sense. It helps to keep me healthy. So I know if I were to start getting my little buckets together and put them on my lanai to grow my different, foods, I have to figure out a way though to, I guess I would get rid of the screens on the lanai and put glass all the way around because I don't know what I would do if I went out there and there was a snake or a lizard in there waiting for me. I probably would, sell the house, get a house away, whatever. But either way, I'm saying in order for anyone to get away from the majority of the processed foods we eat, you have to start being self-sufficient and trying to grow some things on your own. And you know what? It's not as expensive as people make it out to be. If you go to the store, get some potting soil and some 5-gallon buckets and some seeds, you realize, like, say, for instance, if you want to grow something like okra, you can get, a bag of seeds, and those bag of seeds will last you years if you take care of them. And also, if you just, cut the okra off the plant properly, then the okra will grow back. A lot of people I've seen do some interesting things when it comes to farming and trying to eat right. I've seen people pull the whole, plant out of the ground. It's like, why would you do that? It's like if you leave that plant there, it might look like it's dead in the wintertime or whatever, or you could cover it up, with straw. You can do whatever you want to do, but it's gonna come back. Because if you fertilize the ground and the roots, are stable and you are fertilizing and doing everything that you should do, for the next year, then those plants will come back. A lot of people don't know that. You don't have to destroy everything that you've made to collect, the fruit of your labor or your vegetables. You don't have to, completely destroy the plant. You just have to be careful of pulling off that particular piece of produce. So I would like to see if someone would be interested in trying to build a farm, whether or not, I mean, it doesn't have to be humongous. You could do it in your backyard. I think that would be something that would be good for families to try because it it's a lot of work and it's really good for bonding because you're out there, becoming one with the soil and you're talking with the people that you're working beside. And then once you start to see things grow and you're able to cook and eat those things and they're delicious, that's a drastic change, in your mindset and in your body. So why wouldn't you want to do something that's drastic, that's positive, that can help you, that can, reduce the probability of you having disorder and diseases going on in your body? I mean, I knew better, but I didn't do better because I wanted to, taste and see the world. But now that I'm getting older, I do want to do better, and I am, trying my best to do better. And with, you know, cancer the second time around, it's like, okay, you have no choice because you have to give your body what it needs to fight. No drug or anything is going to, truly help you. It's God and it's what you are feeding yourself. Sure, yeah, chemo helps some people, but with this type of cancer, told that chemo doesn't do anything really. There are other methods that they use to get rid of thyroid cancer, but I'm not looking to have any of those things. I'm saying by his stripes I am healed. So I need to make drastic changes in my life to show him that I am working toward a healthier me because faith without works is dead. And I don't want to be, emptily and aimlessly asking God for things that I'm not even working toward myself because I know there's no reward in that. All right. So another thing I think about when I'm thinking about drastic changes besides, getting rid of the sugar in my diet and limiting the unprocessed or the processed foods. Another drastic change is how I've been walking. Every day I've been trying to do at least 2 miles. Now, at one point I had gotten up to three and then I got up to six. And then my left foot just really was like, nah, you doing too much. It's like you're doing too much all at one time. So I have to, realize that I have to do things in moderation because I play tennis and I walk and then I ride my bike. And now I think that you will be able to see, some serious changes, in me, especially like in my face, because I know I already see it myself. And I've lost like 2 inches off my waist and a couple of inches around my arms and thighs because my arms, some of my shirts were so tight, I couldn't even like stick my hand in and see this right here, it's loose. And at one point, literally, my arm filled up this whole shirt and it was like tight. So just know that when you make a drastic change, your body will respond. But at the same time, make sure that drastic change isn't something that is going to cause your body to go into a tailspin and you get sick. When I say drastic change, I mean drastic positive changes like, taking the sugar out of your diet, consuming more unprocessed foods, um, exercising more, reading your word more, spending time meditating, relaxing, clearing your mind. Because a lot of people don't realize that when you have a whole lot of stress in your mind, that your organs take on that stress. And I believe a lot of the stress of mine stayed in my neck. It stayed in my thyroid. And also it stayed in my head because I say, I kind of joke around and say that's why my hair looks like this. But no, my hair is like this because I haven't been putting any heat on it because that's also, a drastic change for me because I was always getting my hair done. I was always, doing different things to my hair. And then I realized I was like, you know what? All the chemicals and what you put in your hair may be something that is causing you to experience these bouts with cancer. So I stopped doing it. I stopped dyeing my hair. I don't have a perm, none of that. I just, wash it, put some type of oil, on it, and then some curling products, but I make sure to read the labels of the curling products, and some of them don't curl my hair quite as nice. And when my hair is really wet, it's very, very curly. So we all need to pay attention, to what it is that we're putting in our bodies. That way, we won't have to make drastic changes that actually become a lifestyle. And when those things become a lifestyle, you'll notice how much healthier you'll become. All right. So thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to watch this episode of Embracing the Fight, Drastic Changes. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day.